It'd be easy to disappear out here, the cabby had commented, tilting ahead at the blurring landscape beneath us. Sure, we've seen our share of tourists. Them's with money to burn got little to worry for. Enter through the gift shop, exit through the gift shop. Complimentary drafts a neon nightmare to further loosen the purse strings. But if you turn the back on all the glitz and glamour and start to walking, don't take long to recall you're still at the system's fringe. And all that's just the surface, to say nothing of what lies beneath it all. Them old Hyperions are a mystery to us. For all our grandstanding atop their shoulders, except for a few relics wrought up by the corpse, centrepieces for the parks. You could go a lifetime without laying your peepers on genuine Hyperania. No money in excavating, I reckon. Not on a trading outpost. The bar's absinthe was bluer than my parents' blood. I blasphemously struck a straw in it to keep my teeth from mimicking its neon coloration, swirled it in place of a spoon to further disperse the sugar cube dissipating milkily in its depths. It's hard to savour anything while shoulder to shoulder with a few thousand of your new best friends, most of them so drunk that only their rotundity keeps them vertical. I was halfway through the second glass before I recalled that I shouldn't be drinking while armed. The weighty iron at my left rib cage ached like a guilty conscience, but I hadn't noticed any detectors. Let's face it, I'm not the first nor last to disregard meridian civility at an outpost. You never know who you'll run into out here. "Professor!" my contact shouted, but I wasn't aware of his existence until he took the chair across from me. "Apologies?" I murmured as I set aside the glass and extended a gloved hand. "Sarah." "Milo," he responded, shaking hardily. His calluses were frictive against the leather of my glove, the hands of a field archaeologist. "They say you're the go-to guy when it comes to Hyperania," I ventured. He squinted, making out only a few of my words, then grinned. "Want to get out of here?" "Absolutely," I mouthed. He was handsome in the moonlight. The garishness of the restaurant had obstructed that. He had the wiry brawn you find on chain gangs, a man familiar with a pickaxe. "Professor," he began again, once we were outside the audible blast zone. "I asked you here because you found something we didn't expect. I know you need to justify your grant expenditures to Barvale, but it's—" His voice lowered even further. He placed a heavy hand upon my shoulder and leaned down to my ear, brushing the brim of my hat. "It's not safe to discuss. Not yet. Not here." His breath was hot on my cheek. We were almost to the hotel before I made our tale. State-of-the-art AR goggles, broken-in boots, brand-name trench coat, with urban artillery underneath. The archaeologist smoothed his collar self-consciously as we crossed the threshold and read our room number upon the screen wall. "Room, singular," I smirked. "What kind of a girl do you take me for, Milo?" No, Professor," he apologized, almost blushing. "You'll see." I would indeed. After checking that the hall was clear, he unlocked our door and moved aside for me to take a peek. The ever-present hum of a closed-loop portal array vibrated the room like a growling throat. "Ye gods," I breathed. "Those things cost a fortune." A fortune we didn't have until Hyperion a week ago. We stared at one another in the hallway, and I momentarily debated walking away. "You'll defray all my expenses, and the Academy gets 10%, in addition to first publishing rights." He swallowed. "Deal." After he went to his knees before the array to attune it to our destination, I couldn't help but flinch at what he uttered absent-mindedly. "Stay close. It's easy to disappear out here." Howling winds whipped the frost-tipped shale barrens of Hyperia's undeveloped zone, strewing sharp little fragments of rock and ice into the face of whatever creature had the misfortune of traversing it. I went to my knees unsteadily, patch-drunk from the trip through the portal array, and raised my scarf around my face to tie it as a mask. Milo caught his hat as it began to fly away and screwed it down around his ears. "The shaft's not far," he gestured. "This is the closest the array engineers could get without seeing our dig site." We made for and circled the flank of a great shale slab which jutted out of the landscape like a shipwrecked vessel. At its western side, the very tip of its morning shadow terminated with a rowdy little camp, all of it pinned in place or lashed together, which consisted of a world-weary tent, a small pyramid of crated tools and sleds with food and water rations, just enough to reach civilization if one had to rough it out on foot. "We sleep in the shaft," Milo commented on the absence of beds. "One good gust could make a dreamer take flight." It only became visible as we ducked under the tent. The shaft was quite small, maybe 6 feet in circumference. Old-fashioned lanterns flickered at intervals down its tilted seam. It went down 10 feet or so until the telltale punch-holes for dynamite began. "You did this entrance by hand?" Milo nodded. "How do you know to dig here?" He hummed, reached into his vest pocket, and produced a compass. He handed it to me. As I set it flat upon a steady palm, it began to spin wildly. "It's not that?" I asked, gesturing at the shale formation looming behind us. "I climbed atop it, to be sure. Straight as an arrow up here." Handing his compass back, I took one more wary glance all around us. "You saw him too, outside the hotel." Milo pocketed his compass and sat to dangle his feet over the lip of the shaft. "I've seen him a couple of times, ever since we took out the loan for the portal array." I cursed under my breath. By staking the land. "What else? We knew if we started carting relics back it'd draw the corp's attention, but I guess building an array on credit draws as much notice as artifact-laden sleds." That guy didn't look like theme park muscle to me. There might be a third party in play now. I brooded for a moment. "How long do we have, if he knows this location and takes a cab?" Milo glanced at his watch. 6 hours, as the Miraboo flies." Then let's get to work." We were halfway down the gloomy stretch before I heard it. The sound of laughter. We found Milo's compatriots lying in various drunken poses upon gleaming piles of coined Hyperion spelt, a blue-grey precious metal crucial in the construction of portal arrays. A handful of spelt is a salaryman's yearly wages. This trove was 10,000 lifetimes' worth of wealth at least. I knelt to pick up a couple of pieces and rub them together. "Spelt doesn't affect compasses, does it?" Milo shook his head. "It's not that. If it was, the corpse would never have let this land go cheap. What's causing the interference," he knelt next to me and pointed, "is that." I hadn't noticed it at first. Its coloration practically camouflaged against the surrounding rock. I cast aside the coins and walked over to it. Equally imperceptible to the touch, its grooves were little more than slight indentations, and its hinges little more than subtle elevations. Up close, it shimmered in the lantern light. It was a gate set into the colossal slab, a gate known to all who love their legends, the Gate of Hyperia. I glanced back at Milo's fellow miners and found no share of enthusiasm in their eyes. The svelte sickness had already taken hold. "You don't know how to open it?" I called, almost mockingly to Milo. He shook his head. "You're a lucky man, Milo." "I do." I ruefully returned my gaze to the gate, tugging off my right-hand glove a finger at a time. "About that 10%, I mentioned as I pressed my fingertips flush to the stone. "Yes?" Milo asked with the faintest hint of a quiver in his voice. "You can keep it. As for the publishing rights, well, I suspect I'll be the first no matter what." The lines that demarcate from wall began to glow. It was an eerie light that did not illuminate the gloom around it. The hair on the nape of my neck stood on end. A noise echoed down to us from the mine shaft above, but I was no longer present to hear it. It seemed to me that my feet were planted firm upon a yawning void of stars, and overhead, their city hung from the firmament like architectural stalactites. Minarets, pyramids, and ziggurats of pure svelte gleamed there in an upside-down glory, and the streets teemed with countless humanoidal statues of svelte that walked and gestured as though alive. One of these tilted its neck up, or I should say down, at me, and pointed. Its body rose, or sunk, until it was almost perpendicular with mine. Its face was like a metallic mask, with eyes softly shut and vague, and lips vaguely parted. Determining age and gender was out of the question. "You have opened a gate of Hyperia," it posed or questioned. "A gate? There are more than one." "Many gateways, few openers," it appraised, with one hand still pointing at me. It pointed its other hand back to the city above. Did they, I stuttered. "Do all enter through a gate?" Just then I made the mistake of looking down at my own body. My flesh was turning svelte too, and cold, so very cold. "When your treasure is new, still weighty it may be," the levitating one explained. "You must store it here." It gestured to the city, "to become as light as I." My heart would have dropped if I had one, for I knew even as he spoke that I wasn't ready. The thought of one of the other weights I carried and all the other treasures I might yet find condensed upon me like a primordial universe. It was so heavy, it seemed as if the stars beneath me might shatter like a mirror. It nodded and returned its hand serenely to rest atop its navel. "You are still a beast of burden. Return when you are ready to take flight." Drawing near me, its eyes opened, but I don't remember what they looked like, or even if I managed to see them. Milo's assistants were dead, plugged between the eyes, and their employer rested at the opposite end of the cave under the boot of their killer. "Where is she?" he asked with finality down the barrel of his rifle, AR goggles still in CQC mode. My skin wasn't svelte anymore, as my bare right hand tugged sidearm from holster. "Threat detected," his goggles announced. It sounded like one deafening shot as we fired simultaneously. Only the angle saved me. I caught him in the side and sent him spinning, and his slug exploded a mound of svelte in front of me. Milo quickly clambered up and threw the rifle across the cave. "Stand back!" I ordered Milo as he mounted the mound of treasure and stepped over them. His hands were still taut, cupping a grievous wound, a magnum round. I loaded the cases myself. "Who are you with? You're no Hyperion." Something like a laugh escaped him as his goggles began to beep. Milo and I dove behind a mound as a flash of light sent svelte burying into the walls like shrapnel. We peered over our priceless barricade. It was a small bomb, more for his sake than ours. Milo and I looked at one another. "Take what you can carry," I concluded. After detonating the portal array exit, our guest must have come through it. I helped Milo load 3 shoulder bags worth of svelte, shoveled in with our bare hands. We said a hasty Hyperion blessing over the mine shaft for Milo's fallen compatriots, before detonating that as well. A rather romantic and pointless gesture. It would surely be reopened and emptied before we'd had a chance to return. "It's enough to get me out of debt with those engineers," Milo concluded as he hefted the last bag onto the sled, "and cover a lifetime's worth of Neon Nightmare to boot." He stooped and unzipped one of them. "Here." He extended a gleaming handful. "You should at least break even as well." I hesitated, unsure of the theological ramifications, before pocketing them. "Buy your absinthe and get off-world." He nodded. "Hey," he said as I turned to another sled. "What do you see in there?" I paused. "Streets paved with svelte." He grinned. "Well, I see that in my dreams all the time." After we had lost each other in the horizon, I pulled my sled over and reached in my coat for the unfamiliar weight I'd felt there ever since I exited the gate. It was a playing card made of svelte. I flipped over to its face. The image thereon was of a pair of hands. The palm on the left hand was wide open and being cut. The fist on the right hand was clutching the dagger. Underneath, in embossed svelte, in red, sacrifice.